If you've used AI while shopping at any point recently, there's a good chance that it influenced your decision earlier than you think. That's because AI isn't just answering your questions anymore, it's starting to sit directly inside of commerce platforms. ChatGPT today is integrated with Shopify, Etsy, and Walmart. And Walmart, Shopify, and Etsy have integrations to AI software assistants of their own. And when the interface changes, our behavior as consumer follows. So, Future Commerce has decided to study what actually happens when people use AI to shop, comparing what they expect to do with what they actually do. And what we found was clear. AI didn't change how people check out, it changed where shopping begins. And that shift, it has real consequences for brands and retailers. I'm Philip, this is Future Commerce, and we studied what consumers actually do when they use AI. Let's get into it. So AI is already changing how shopping begins. Not hypothetically, not someday. It's happening as AI becomes embedded in platforms that we use every day. So we studied what actually happens as people shop using AI, and the answer genuinely surprised us. Despite what you keep hearing about agentic commerce, AI isn't changing the nature of checkout just in the holiday season, but it's shifting our points of inspiration. And to understand this shift, we ran 2 consumer studies and surveyed 2,000 consumers. Our first study happened before the holiday season, when people were planning on how they would shop. And the second happened just after the holidays, when the shopping was done and the decisions were real. The same questions, same structure, different mindset, because these were customers who had just bought. That gave us a clear view of where expectations would drift from their behaviors. Alicia Esposito, our Director of Media Strategy at Future Commerce, led the research, design, and analysis, and she'll walk you through what motivated us to do this research and what moved and why.
One of the clearest signals in the research was the gap between intention and action. And that gap ended up varying significantly depending on the generation. And what was especially interesting is that Gen Z showed the smallest difference between what they said they would do and what they actually did. For millennials and Gen X, that gap was much wider. Before the holidays, many of them didn't really expect to use AI to play a major role in their shopping experiences. But afterward, they had used it far more than they anticipated. That tells us something really important, that AI for them became so much more than a tool. It was a default behavior, especially when they were making really high stakes decisions. We saw that Gen Z in a way was already operating in this way, and they were just more aware of the role that AI was playing in every stage of the process. Other generations were catching up a lot faster than they probably anticipated. And that is certainly because as they were using these different platforms, they were starting to recognize the value. And of course, when you see value, you just want to keep using it. You just want to keep tinkering with it and seeing how much value you can extract from that experience.
So one thing became clear very quickly. AI has become a starting point for shopping. It's not something that people are experimenting with on the side. It's what they reach for when decisions feel heavy, and when time is tight, and when budgets matter. When confidence is hard to come by, AI narrows our choices. It summarizes the options available to us, and it reduces the work required for us to feel ready to move forward to buy. And for many shoppers, it's now the first conversation that they have before shopping even begins.
We also look closely at what happened after AI made a recommendation. And this was really important for us because there has been a lot of discourse around whether generative AI platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and others will actually be cannibalizing traffic, taking it away from brands because everything is essentially happening within the 4 walls or the walled garden of these platforms. And across both studies, 77% of consumers clicked through to a brand or retailer's website to continue researching or completing the purchase after they received that recommendation. What's important is that number stayed consistent before and after the holidays. That tells us that AI is shaping decisions early on, but it isn't replacing the brand experience. It isn't replacing the value that e-commerce sites can and should play in this new evolved journeys. Consumers are using AI to narrow options, to aggregate all of that information, all of that data that they need, but then they rely on the brands to validate, to establish that trust, especially if it's a new brand or a brand they're buying a gift from.
What's interesting is that this shift doesn't look the same for everybody. The adoption of AI for Gen Z, this behavior is already normalized. There's very little distance between what they expect to do and what they actually do in our consumer study. But for older generations, when we ask them what their expected behavior is for usage of AI, the change feels much more dramatic. They're the ones most surprised by their own behavior. AI isn't teaching Gen Z new habits, it's exposing how quickly everybody else adopts them under pressure. What happened next? And this is where a lot of our assumptions fell apart. AI isn't going to replace brands, it's changing how people arrive to them. After narrowing a consumer's options, shoppers still turn to brand and retailer websites to validate those decisions. They didn't let an agent buy for them. The role of the brand site has shifted. It's less about the discovery and more about the reassurance that this is the right choice. Another pattern that shows up over and over in our research is that people are tired. The work of comparison has become exhausting. Watching for discounts, checking multiple retailers, second-guessing whether you've missed something better. AI is offering a relief to the consumer for the mental load. And when the effort required to comparison shop drops, decisions are sped up. And that shift explains why AI has earned so much trust so quickly, especially during the holidays.
Before the holidays, about 30% of consumers said they expected to visit physical stores less, often due to the value of these AI platforms. After the holidays, that number increased to 40%. At the same time, visits to brand websites didn't show that same decline, I guess you could say, in relevance. And what that suggests to us is that AI is replacing parts of the in-store discovery process more than it's replacing e-com branded relationship building. The most, I think, profound takeaway here is all of these gaps, so to speak, are being filled with AI platforms. So where does that leave the physical store experience?
Our most unexpected finding is not about e-commerce at all. It's about physical retail stores. As AI has taken on more of this discovery and comparison work, fewer people felt the need to visit physical retail locations. What surprised us wasn't just that this is a direction of that shift, but how quickly it has shown up. So, here are 5 things worth holding on to from this research. Number 1 is that AI is already a part of how people shop. It's not a coming future behavior, it's already here. Second, its influence is really easy to underestimate. What people say beforehand about how they might shop doesn't always match what they do under pressure. And this isn't evenly distributed. Gen Z already behaves this way in AI adoption. For everybody else, AI is quietly rewriting habits they thought were already fixed. Third, AI reshapes early decisions. Brands still play a central role later in the process of buying. Fourth, deal fatigue is a major driver for using AI. When comparison shopping becomes easier, our momentum to purchase is increasing. And fifth, physical retail feels the shift to AI most directly, especially when discovery of new brands and better deals no longer requires a visit to a store. The future of shopping, it isn't coming, it's already here. And for brands, the question ahead is simple. If AI is now the front door to shopping, what does the customer find when they walk inside? I'm Philip, this is Future Commerce. And if you like what you found here, we have so much more research available at futurecommerce.com. Why don't you like and subscribe and watch another video below about the future of commerce.